I have the honor to confer the degree of Doctor of Laws, honoris causa, on Dikgang Moseneke. It's an honor. It's a true honor.
These will be only a few words, and that meant to say few things that sit very close to my heart. And this you end when you become an old man, to say out little tales that you hope will mean something to others one day. But the first of these tales is gratitude. 12 years as Chancellor here. And I couldn't get an honorary doctorate because I was the one who dished them out, Chancellor. And I was told to wait until I'm not Chancellor. And some people sneaked around, made nominations, and you had the citation today. I'm deeply grateful. Nothing taken for granted. The next thing I really would like to say as I receive this university's highest honor is to repeat what I said the other day about the importance of institutions. I repeat again that Wits, it's a very vital part of our quest for a just society. It's a vital part of the reformation of an otherwise uneven and unequal society. And I said the other day, it is one of the spoils of our long struggle for freedom. It's a public entity. It's owned by all of us at large. And all of us have to come to defend it. And the reason is primarily that as humanity evolves, jobs will evolve. And as they do, only the skilled will survive. Whereas in antiquity, the strongest survive. When we move on, the skilled only will survive. And in Africa, more than anywhere else, we have to have the continuing quest for training, for development, for acquiring skills that our oppression and our colonial dim past kept us away from. And therefore we have to look after and preserve Wits and reject the notion that it's some elitist place where we can happily seek to pull it down, destroy it, burn it down, and reduce it to ashes. If you think this is idle, let me remind you that universities, like all organizations, are born, they grow, they live on, if well looked after, and if not, they die. And there are many examples. Just get onto the African continent and just think about a university like Makerere and look at where it is now. So like organizations, universities do die. And it would be a tragedy if that were to happen to this great institution. The next thought I would like to leave you with is that every society constructs a normative scheme, a code of ethics, a way to live. Most religions are really about that, more than notions of longevity and immortality. Ethical codes teach us how to relate to each other, how to transact public life, how to acquire knowledge, how to be good human beings. And the low-lying fruit is often to talk, of course, about politicians with lapses. But in my time on the court, some of the most striking lapses were in business. Our business practices, I'm not saying all, but a significant part, are riddled with anti-competitive behavior. Any judge will tell you of the extent of collusion from the evidence, of price fixing, particularly for our graduates of today, very relevant, for illicit transfer pricing, for global companies who are located outside our country to escape tax liability, for inflated pricing. And in my time on the court, we granted at least 2 class actions. And the most irritating for me was the one that related to price fixing in relation to bread, which is a staple food of so many, particularly needy people. So there's an intersection between business transacting and ethics, which is simply indispensable. And increasingly in our land, we can see it being thrown into the gutter. You move on to the professions for a moment. Healthcare givers. Let's pause for a moment. Acidimony is but one example. Hippocratic oath, right in here. And thereafter people go out and act the way they do and ignore the ever-permanent intersection between any field and area of life and ethical conduct. Have accountants and auditors done us proud? Have they? And many of you will be graduating BSc and BSc honors, Bachelor of Accounting. When the ethical norms of a profession are rendered subservient to high profits that are extracted from clients who perceived accounting guardians to be pliable, is a threat to society, even often much bigger than we understand. And much of the leakage in government, which led to poverty, was because the profession of guardians, accounting guardians, went to sleep and colluded. Think for a moment about the VBS Bank and the role of the accounting guardians in that particular bank. I don't want to keep you, I promise not. But also ethics in the way we relate to each other. Think about violence in our country. Think about crime. Think about toxic masculinity. Think about the horror women have to go through in our relationships with them. We men, that is. And again, we see that moral lapse. We see that ethical paucity that sets in to eat away at a society. To recap, all societies build an architecture of the way they relate to each other. They set up ethical codes which are often well known. And as a country, we are eating away at this and destroying the ethical core of our society. My parting shot, as you graduate, I really wish you well. I would have said Last week at least I would have said, be good. But Patricia DeLille would misunderstand me. It's a terrain of relativity. It changes and moves all the time. But we must strive to seek for personal agency, to be good to ourselves in our own lives, and strive for public agency, and continue to do as much as we can. As always, may God bless Africa, and may God bless its people. I thank you.